Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Okay, guys, we're back. Did you miss us? Because we missed you.
Rules?
There are no rules.
What rules?
This is a revolution, damn it.
You'll hear things you've never heard before.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And what the heck can we tell you? We are the Other Alliance Guys. Waka waka waka. Presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. Your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, various independents around the world. My name is Tim. Hey, I can't get no respect, let me tell you. I'm joined by my brothers in pod. Championship Wrestling from Jeremy. He's here till Thursday. Try the veal. How are you, my friend?
The veal is delicious. Make sure to skip the asparagus, though. I think it's a day past.
Yeah. How much asparagus do you eat?
Go to the bathroom, you'll know.
And currently fighting out of the great state of Maryland, Dave Scooby. Take his wife, please. How you doing, Dave?
Yes, doing well. Besides the weather, it's storming and forecasted rain for the next week or so. So hopefully we don't float away.
Yeah, it's super hot out here. We had a massive storm yesterday, but what can I tell you? Well, fellas, what are we talking about tonight? We're going to be talking primarily, first off, about a segment that Dave introduced us to last week when we looked at the Mount Rushmores of FAFO, and each of us picked four guys, and this time around we're doing the four greatest comedic wrestlers of all time. Who's the Mount Rushmore of comedy wrestlers? That'll be fun. Jeremy's not feeling super great today. He's going to skip his UWN segment unless he changes his mind at some point. And Dave's going to kind of dip back into last week's files of what could have been. We talked about Rick Rude and talk about what could have been with the late, great Owen Hart. Where could he have ended up? You know, Dave, before we get into that, I'm going to forget. I remember when I was a kid and reading the mags and here's Owen Hart, the 18-year-old brother of Brett, and our interview, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, that's probably the one I had bought. What do you want to do, Owen? This guy nobody knows. He's like, I want to wrestle Ric Flair for the NWA World Championship. Like, who is this kid? How good is this kid? He was good.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Willie Bowen. Willie's bringing the comedy tonight. What does a clogged septic tank, a skunk, and Tyrus's NWA World Heavyweight Championship reign have in common? They all stink. Stank. Tyrus, you will never be allowed to sleep in peace. Sam Retro's here. Yeah.
And as much as I'm not going to say I hate him. I dislike Tyrus for some of the things he does, but I guess he had to go around with some of the ladies on The View, and granted they record it, so I don't think it'll be showing. But halfway through the quote unquote live to tape broadcast, I guess he just went off on them and basically, I'm proving my point. Why you guys keep saying the same shit over and over again when there's no proof to what you're saying. So wow. I haven't seen anything of what was actually said, but hey, good for him. Stand up for what you believe in.
Yeah, whatever that might be. Jeremy, what galaxy you in, man? Sam might be near you right now.
Oh, it's still a Milky Way, bro.
It's good. We're glad for that. Hey, Sam, I did box it up. I boxed them all up, man. I won't show you because your address is here. I don't want to put it on the screen. But it's all boxed up. It's ready to go. All this crap is finally ready to go. I swear to you. It's been like a year and a half. A lot of stuff for Sam. All right. Let's do what any good podcast does at the 6.5 minute mark when we jump in. Let's talk about the pro wrestling Mount Rushmore of comedy wrestlers. The 4 greatest. We all had 4 different picks, but to be fair, I'll let you start, Dave, but to be fair, you guys each had a pick that I would have put on my list if it wasn't already there. So why don't you kick us off, Dave? We'll see what we come up with.
Okay, this is no particular order, but I had to start off with one of the guys that, I mean, he encapsulates comedic wrestling, and that's Santino Marella.
Good Canadian boy, Santino.
Oh, yeah, if you've ever seen him, I mean, when he started off, before he became Santino, he was a Russian wrestler, and I mean, for certain, he is a shoot wrestler. He knows, he does the MMA, he has a school up in Canada, and I mean, he knows how to grapple, not just wrestle. He knows how to grapple. He knows takedown moves, submission moves, all that kind of stuff. But he went with the flow, and he became Santino Marella. And the last name Marella was a tribute to Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
So that was a cool thing. Plus, Gorilla's son Joey, who at one time was a referee for the WWF. So I'm glad that they did give him a name that honored the past. But I mean, if you've ever watched Santino, he can wrestle, but his comedy chops are there. His mispronouncing the names, and I mean, he can go in the ring.
Yeah.
But like I said, the mispronunciation of names is just enough to get you to either crack a smile or even giggle, even when you're like, okay, this is wrestling. I got to take this serious.
He was the guy on your list. I had it on mine originally, by the way. And I just saw him 2 months ago in MLP. Sorry, Jeremy.
Yep. And then when he came up with the Cobra and the Cobra Strike, and then he did the Glamazon stuff, the Glamarella with Beth Phoenix. I mean, it's one of those things that when he's in ring with somebody, you know he's going to try to make them crack, and that was a good, bad, or indifferent kind of thing. And I mean, it's one of those things that he was one of those guys that you can take serious, but you never knew which direction he was going. And I mean, I mean, amazing that he could do what he did and kept a career that long. That normally when somebody's like a ha-ha comedy wrestler, it's, like Eugene, you're there for 2, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
He went on. He ended up reinvigorating his career. He became Santina, the female version of Santino. Then when he paired up with Beth Phoenix, it was just what they did with him. I'd say at least 80 to 90% of what they did with him was good.
I agree.
Every once in a while, they'd have something that was just crappy, but he still made you laugh when he did it.
I like how he never winked at the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually took it serious as, I'm not joking. I'm being serious in him joking. Now, secondly, Aaron Stevens, Shooter Stevens. But it's only when he was a certain character, and that's when he was the stunt double Damien Mizdow. When he was with the Miz, he did his comedy bit, and I mean it's one of those things that, I mean, Aaron Stevens, the guy has it. But I have to say, I mean, he's a great wrestler, but he's one of those things that this had to have been the highlight of his career, besides him winning championship gold and winning money in the bank.
Yeah, I love this photo, by the way.
Oh yeah, him just being the stunt double and reacting to the moves in the ring. That was just that's another thing of it either made you smirk or laugh out loud, and then you look around and you're like, why am I laughing? It's funny, but it isn't. It's one of those things. I mean, him and Miz ended up winning the tag titles, later split in 2015. And right now, I mean, he still has a comedy edge to him, but he's trying to be the more serious. But even as a manager, he can make you chuckle in some of the things he does. Just his reaction.
He's naturally charismatic and funny.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's that show. What's that show that he's on?
Oh, I think you should leave.
Yeah.
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 Now, thirdly, it's Colt Cabana, Scotty Goldman, as he was known in the WWE. If that's all you know him from, you don't know him at all. He's also been a masked classic wrestler, Matt Classic. He did a lot with ROH, and in ROH, that's where wrestlers wrestle. It's one of those things. I mean, he's a friend of Punk, or was a friend. He's a serious wrestler, and I mean, Jeremy gave us his review of the 7 Levels of Hate with Adam Pearce. If you've watched that, you know he can wrestle, but he also gave himself a little comedy edge. Plus, he'd do the masked wrestler every once in a while, Matt Classic. But it's one of these things that Colt gave himself a little comedic edge just to make himself different from all those around him. He can wrestle. Currently, I believe he's with ROH and AEW as a trainer. He still wrestles, but he trains a lot. But it's one of those things that he's showing people different sides of themselves. That, yeah, you can be a serious wrestler, but still have fun doing it.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be. It's one of these things of, if I can be serious for a moment. That's one of those things that Lance Storm tried to be serious all the time, and in being serious all the time, found a little comedy edge. So it's one of those things that embrace comedy 1%, 5%, 10%, but don't let it overtake what you're doing as a wrestler. But it's one of those things that if you look at Colt Cabana for what he's done, it's a different taste. It's looking at, okay, sometimes you have to adjust. Almost every wrestler out there has adjusted one way or another. They may not have changed names or gimmicks so much, but they've tweaked what they do one way or another. That they've either become more serious, or they've added some comedy, or they've added something to them to make them just a little different than their previous incarnation. You look at somebody like Chris Jericho. It's one of these things that Chris Jericho has been the Lionheart. He's been Man of 1,000 Moves. He's been all these different things. When he goes in to a character, he modifies it just enough to be different from what he was the time before when you saw him. And he takes what works and leaves what doesn't at the door. Now, last but not least, this guy is actually a comedian. And if you saw the movie Man on the Moon, which I thought was one of Jim Carrey's better roles, it's Andy Kaufman You saw him in Taxi. Plus, he ended up having a legendary battle with Jerry Lawler. And in doing so, I mean, Kaufman began wrestling women and proclaiming himself the intergender wrestling champion of the world. Now, if you don't know about the story, before he ended up wrestling in Memphis, he went and talked to Vince Sr. about bringing his act to the WWF at that time. And McMahon dismissed Kaufman's idea as he felt it wasn't a show business thing. He didn't want to bring show business into pro wrestling, and only a couple years later, his son ended up doing that same thing.
Right.
But it's one of those things that Kaufman had by then developed friendship with Bill Apter, and after talking with Apter about what Kaufman wanted to do in pro wrestling, Apter got a hold of Jerry the King Lawler, set up a meeting, and while people didn't know, kayfabe was still real back then. They were working together. They were actually friends. They were working together. They finally stepped into the ring together in Memphis. Kaufman would taunt the residents of Memphis by showing videos of, hey, this is how you use soap. All you rednecks. This is the nation's redneck capital here in Memphis. Now that feud featured Jimmy Hart as well.
Oh, yeah.
And there were a number of staged works, such as the broken neck that Kaufman had as a result of the pile driver from Lawler. And, I mean, he kept on that neck brace for close to a year. And they ended up having the on-air fight on Late Night with David Letterman. And, I mean, that was 1982. That brought mainstream attention to pro wrestling back before there was Hulk Hogan and the power of Hulkamania. So it's one of those things that, I mean, after their first match that Kaufman had with Lawler, he would wear that neck brace, insisting that his injuries were much worse than they actually were.
Yep.
And he defended the intergender championship in the Mid-South Coliseum. Plus, he would offer an extra prize other than the $1,000 that he had put out there. And back in '82, $1,000 was a lot. That if he were ever pinned, the woman who pinned him would get to marry him. Now, if that's not a prize, I don't know what is. But it's one of those things that it was revealed that the feud and the wrestling matches were stage works. And this was like 15 years after all of that happened. So it was one of those things that after Kaufman's death in '84, or should I say, maybe he's still out there.
In his Tony, what's his name persona?
Clifton.
Clifton. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, it's one of those things. But I mean, if you get a chance, watch Man on the Moon, and it's a very enjoyable movie that features some wrestling, and Jerry the King Lawler is actually in there playing himself. But I mean, it's a great movie, and I mean, it shows you the struggles that he went through mentally, physically, and emotionally. But I like the story, and I mean, it was during that time when wrestling was real. That it's still real to me, damn it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that crowd was insane for what went on in Memphis. And if it wasn't Jerry Lawler versus Idol, or Lawler versus who knows, any of his other battles that he did in Memphis, Bill Dundee, any of those, Andy Kaufman brought a realness because he was an outsider stepping into the ring.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things that these are my top four. There's a couple others that I could have picked, but these are my four that I think define what a Mount Rushmore of comedy wrestlers. There's different kinds of comedy that each of these people represent, and I'd like to know what you guys think about it.
100%. There's been some talk in the chat already. Goldust, Lance Storm, other names that we're already going to talk about as well. Let's so Santino, Stevens, Cabana, and Kaufman are on Dave's Mount Rushmore. What do you say, Jeremy? What 4 guys have you got?
I say that Dave's 4 picks, 3 of them immediately popped into my head whenever I saw the topic, and then I saw Dave's, and I was like, "Well, shit."
Yeah.
Got to recalibrate. But no, again, those 3 immediately, as soon as I saw the topic, those 3 immediately popped into my head.
Yeah.
But I've got some counters for you. I'll start off with Beth Phoenix for her work with Santino whenever they were paired up. Every good comedy duo needs a straight person, and she pulled that off tremendously. Her reactions to his stuff, her reluctance to encourage it and participate in it just made it that much better whenever she did jump into it. And whenever she did jump into it, she jumped into it full force and didn't hold back. Just a phenomenal talent that up until that point had just been viewed as a power wrestler, a second coming of China of sorts type. So it was nice to see her get pulled into that and get to show a little depth and dimension.
For about 5 seconds when I read that you picked her, I went, what? And I thought, you know what? Because every comedy duo, like the straight guy, like you say, Abbott and Costello, but Abbott was hilarious because he was straight. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Good pick.
Yeah. And then we go to who Dave will be talking about tonight in his fantasy booking, the Blue Blazer. I that was one that that was when I was more of a teenager, so it at the time I didn't appreciate it for what he was doing. And as I've gotten older and I've gotten to learn more about Owen and who he was in the ring and outside of the ring, there wasn't really much of a difference there. He would rib you in or out of the ring. He didn't care. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning and you're sound asleep in the hotel, and Owen's calling you, but it's not Owen, it's Vince. But it's not Vince, it's Owen. But you don't know that. You know, there's a ton of stories out there, and I would have these. I have a screaming fucking headache, so I'm powering.
I got one if I can throw it in. I'm pretty sure this is Owen, because there was a story I heard years ago about how Nash, Hall, and X-Pac had to hide under the ring before a show, and they had to be there for hours because they were coming out in the main event from under the ring. And how Owen had done his business, shall we say, underneath the ring before they got there. So that they were, you know, with Nash going, Hall, Scotty's just sitting there going, rah, rah, for like 3 hours. And that's rough, but man, he was a fun dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Another pick that I chose, and Dave brought up that wasn't long lived, but definitely hit the nail on the head and pulled it off was Nick Dinsmore with Eugene was a little slice of wrestling brilliance there that could have went really, really bad. And I think that after listening to Dinsmore on his YouTube channel and stuff, which proceed with caution. But they kind of wanted him to lean in a little more too, and he kind of resisted that as much as he could. The character was much better for it, and he nailed it. Every person that they paired him up with, he came out looking like $1 million. Was fantastic ring talent, great mind for the business, and then I'm going to wrap mine up with my last one, Danhausen, just straight homegrown, word of mouth, grassroots, fucking good old straight gimmick character fucking wrestler. And I mean, the guy under the paint is a fantastic individual, a wonderful human being. I highly recommend everyone, if you haven't, dig into the man behind Danhausen, and you'll see kind of where that character comes from a little bit. But just a really smart comedy gimmick that, again, doesn't wink at the audience. That's one of the things I tried to stay away from in my picks, and Dave did too. And from the looks, from the ones that Tim has picked, none of us picked anybody that ever winked at the crowd, or this was, I'm doing this because this is what I'm told. They went into this and they gave it their all, and they really put some effort behind this. But Danhausen is just a fantastic example of good comedy wrestling and getting yourself over, by any means possible, really. He's out there on YouTube. He's on Twitch. He was huge in the indies and everything before he got the AEW rub, and then for a long time was the top merchandise seller for AEW.
It was.
Those are my 4 picks.
Amazing. Danhausen was the pick on mine. Like when I thought, okay, Danhausen, and then I saw you picked him. I thought, okay, well, he's covered, because he's so good, and like in a way, the gimmick makes no sense in a way, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like there's interviews. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and I think that's one of the things that makes that character even better is it's honestly suited for more of a Friday or Saturday night fucking B-flick horror show host.
Yeah, it's true. There's interviews out there where people would just be like, what are you, like a vampire or something? And he'll just be like, there's no. But he also does interviews completely out of the character, and great pick. All right, my four. I'm going to go with a really obvious pick first. That's going to be R-Truth. R-Truth for me is a Grandmaster King of Comedy, former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, two-time, 4 million time 24/7 champion, but that's half of the comedy right there. You can pick 1,000 things that Ron Killings has done comedy-wise in the business. By the way, great talent as well. Looks like $1 million. And, even today. And the cat can go. But the favorite stuff for me is when he would come into the ring. I remember specifically the one where we're with Heyman and Lesnar, and Killing saying, Paul Heyman has declared himself for the Royal Rumble. Well, then I'm coming to the Royal Rumble to beat you up, Paul Heyman. And Heyman's like, I'm not here to declare me. I'm here for Lesnar. He's like, oh, he's going in? Never mind. And he would do that stuff and leave. Ron Killings makes me laugh every time. I love that he's in that spot right now, even late in his career, where he's got the chance to be elevated up that extra half step or step in the WWE and the whole Cena. I remember, the young Cena, even though he's older than R-Truth is, but R-Truth was the top of the heap for me on my list. Next up, I'm gonna go with, if I can find the picture here. Did I not? I did. Mick Foley. Mick Foley is just a no-brainer for Mount Rushmore for me. Even Cactus Jack being all, hardcore and serious and crazy, still funny. Still naturally funny underneath somehow. Mankind from, obviously he started as that whole, what did Vince want to call him? Manson, the murderer, or something like that. But that boiler room kind of crazy, where Vince would just come in and go, we were going to have a tournament for the hardcore champion, but it's just yours. If we do hardcore down the road, he's got to be number one on everyone's list, I think. But the comedy out of this guy, Dude Love, where they'd start with a tapping foot and he'd be dancing his way to the ring. The top of the heap for me, for Mick Foley, was when he was screaming at The Rock, when The Rock and Saw connection that he would try to force down The Rock's throat every week wasn't working. He started screaming at him about the people's elbow. It's an elbow drop. It doesn't even hurt. I'm not thinking about it. Mick Foley, I think, is awesome. I don't think that's happening, David Valentine. I doubt that's happening right now, but maybe check the sources or on that one. I got two more to go for my Mount Rushmore. This guy has taken a lot of heat in recent years as staying on the scene too long, booking a lot of stuff for himself in AEW that people aren't loving, and then doubling down and just saying, I'm sorry you don't love it. That's the character. Tell me to go away. I'm getting over it. That's Chris Jericho. And Chris Jericho is a guy who is, whether you love him, whether you hate him, he is undeniably one of the funniest talents for me, at least in modern pro wrestling history.
Yep.
The man of 1,000, and he was fighting Dean Malenko. For those of you who weren't around back in the day, the man of 1,000 holds, Dean Malenko, the Iceman, couldn't be more straight down the middle. Love Dean Malenko. Chris Jericho is the young buck with that top knot kind of, long hair, ponytail thing. And just saying, you call yourself the man of 1,000 holds? I'm the man of 1,004 holds. And so, and then he pulled out that long list, and he'd get armbar, body slam, suplex, armbar. And he kept going back to armbar like every seventh move.
Yep.
What he could take a phrase like a little bit of the bubbly and just make it into a T-shirt. You just made the list. That was a thing for like almost a solid year. There was a period of time, different periods of times where Chris Jericho was comedy gold. And
what was the guy in WCW? He had a guy that came out, Rufus or Roscoe or.
Yeah, he's actually passed now. He was what was it, Dave?
Ralphus,
yeah.
Ralphus, that's right.
Yeah. He's Jericho Security with that crop T-shirt, and he was a WCW truck driver. He carried gear, and he just got his break, so to speak, to be that guy. And yeah, very funny stuff. So he would be my fourth, and finally, I wanted to go a little bit straighter than just purely comedy, because I always bought as a kid what Roddy Piper was selling.
Yeah.
Whether it was comedy or not, there was an intensity to Piper away from the, they do close-ups because he had the look when he just walked to the ring and he was pissed off and he was just walking to kick some ass. And they'd have that camera come down. I remember it vividly. His match with Bret Hart at WrestleMania with like the greatest ending I'd ever seen at the time, with the Hart walking up the turnbuckle in the sleeper and pinning Piper for the Intercontinental title. Amazing. Great wrestler, great talent. Also had the whole crazy edge. Funny as fuck. So funny. By the way, I'm a little biased because he went to my high school in Toronto. So super, super funny. My ex-wife met him at a convention. He called her little lady, and she was suddenly in love with Roddy Piper. But every promo he would do, like even this with Vince, he would just lose his mind. He would his whole thing about when he was fighting the Mountie at WrestleMania comes to mind. The whole promo about he says, I'm going to take Piper's dignity. I haven't got any dignity. How do you think I got so far? And if he thinks he's beating me, it's just all off the top of his head. He's dreaming, and I think it's all wet, too. And then you hear Mean Gene, oh, okay. It was a different time, and Piper was the funniest wrestler of my childhood because he still had that believability that he could kick your ass. So those would be my four.
What's your favorite Roddy Piper movie?
It is, look, I love Hell Comes to Frogtown, but it is, mainstream as it is, it's They Live.
They live. All out of bubble gum. They live. I'm all out of bubble gum.
That's right.
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Yeah. Great package.
It's so fucking schlocky. I love it.
Yeah, it is amazing. But They Live has the pro wrestling fight scene in the alleyway.
Yeah, They Live is like right there.
Yeah,
it's right there. But it just the schlock value of Hell Comes to Frogtown and the absurdity of it.
I agree.
Pushes it for me.
Funny man. That was fun, guys, and there's lots of them in the chat. We had, Gold Dust.
Honorable mention for sure.
Honorable mention, especially for a guy who, originally didn't want to do this character and just embraced it, right?
Yeah. You had suggested in the Discord that you were surprised nobody picked The Rock, but we were picking comedians, not joke wrestlers.
He was funny, though.
No, he wasn't. He was funny if you were third grade.
Do you remember things like, I don't even remember who it was in the ring, like where he'd be cutting a promo and a wrestler slid in and gave him a piece of their mind, and he'd just stand there, and after about 2 minutes, he'd go, "Who in the nine hells are you?" It was a Samoa Joe nope moment, like on the mic. He has that comedic edge. I know The Rock.
Samoa Joe always did it better. Did stuff like that better for me, anyways. I can't stand Dwayne, so.
Yeah, I mean, times have changed. Times have changed, and he's not the guy he used to be. But I think he was funny. But all right, listen, you got the headache coming on. You're gonna skip UWN this week.
Yeah.
You got a 30-second review. Not good. Don't watch it.
It was an episode.
All right.
Got a Bad Dude Tito match with Bryce Saturn. Got a Che Cabrera match with Damian Desire. Got a Alex Gracia and Brittany Brooks match. And EJ Sparks and Daivari. Daivari broke out the flying carpet.
Did he?
The carpet's a shooter, I'm telling you guys. The carpet's the legitest one of the two. But no, it was a show. It wasn't bad. It's just like I said, they've kind of it's a roller coaster, peaks and valleys with them. It seems, and their focus is split, I believe, between keeping UWN Irvine going and gearing up for Gotham, and so I'm hoping that once Gotham gets going and we see how that pans out, maybe it'll balance out and it'll be a little bit better.
We'll double down on it next week and do a longer one when you're feeling a bit better. Alex Garcia still have pink hair? Double D wants to know.
I think so.
Okay.
I didn't really pay attention to that match a lot.
Yeah, man. Well, you listen. You're on the. Hopefully, you're on the mend soon. So let us then go. It's going to be a short one, guys. It's going to be a short one. Let's go to a segment we call "I Respect You, Booker Man." Dave Scooby, what could have been? Owen Hart, what do you got for us this week?
Well, okay, let's see. If Owen Hart had never passed away, Bret Hart may not have left the WWE for WCW. He wouldn't have gotten hurt by Bill Goldberg, and Goldberg would not be wrestling this past weekend for the WWE.
Oh shit, that's a straight line to me to see.
That's just the messed up what if version. But what if Owen Hart had never died? Going from the year 99, I'm only going another roughly 10 years. But Owen Hart passed away at the age of only 34. And he did a lot in those 34 years. Instead of Owen having that tragic event that took place at Over the Edge 99 in Kansas City, Owen Hart ends up defeating the Godfather for the IC title, and as soon as he does, he drops the blue blazer gimmick. Because he got what he wanted. He got the title. Now, he later turns on Jeff Jarrett. They were friends. Now they're mortal enemies. They're feuding over the IC title.
The Nugget.
Owen ultimately wins the feud.
Yeah.
Ends up sending Jeff Jarrett packing back to WCW, at least for a short time. Owen then inserts himself into the WWF title picture as he takes the place of Big Show at Survivor Series to win his first WWF championship. He becomes a double champion as well as a babyface, drops the IC title to Chris Jericho at Armageddon, and then ends up dropping the WWF title to Triple H on the first Raw of the new year, 2K. Owen then competes in the 2000 Royal Rumble match where he enters at number 1. He survives the entire match. Ends up making it to the final 3. He and The Rock end up teaming up to eliminate the Big Show. And as they do so, The Rock then throws Owen over the top rope to win. This brings us up to WrestleMania 2000, where Owen faces Mick Foley, Triple H, and The Rock, where they had a McMahon in every corner match. Triple H still ends up winning, but Owen's stock rises just by being in this match. I mean, he's in there with The Rock, Mick Foley, and Triple H, so stock's got to rise if you deal with those guys. Now, Owen will fluctuate every once in a while, going back down into the mid-card, where he trades the IC and the European titles amongst some other wrestlers, including Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Kurt Angle. Imagine just the IC title amongst those guys. Then the next year in 2001, Owen Hart ends up facing Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania 17. It's one of the best matches. It's an actual technical match. Eddie still lies, cheats, and steals his way to victory. But in doing this, Owen becomes the main babyface of the invasion angle. And with Owen still being there, like I said, Bret Hart may actually become a part of this with Owen still being around and not leave for WCW. It's one of those things of Owen possibly replaces Kurt Angle in this feud against Stone Cold. While he and Stone Cold had their differences, I could see them working well together. Then move on to the next year, 2002. This is when they had separate rosters. Owen's drafted over to SmackDown, where he becomes part of the SmackDown 6, now becoming the SmackDown 7. Imagine some of the matches that he'd have with Eddie Guerrero, Chavo, the Los Guerreros, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Edge, Mysterio. And I mean, all those guys, they teamed up at different times. So I could see, with him being the odd man out, have him team up with a young Randy Orton, or possibly even a John Cena. They could feud with Benoit and Angle, Mysterio and Edge, and Los Guerreros over the tag titles. Then it's on to WrestleMania 19, where Owen Hart ends up taking Matt Hardy's place in the match against Rey Mysterio. Now, Owen Hart was about 225 pounds, so it wouldn't take much for him to slim down and get into that cruiserweight division. He has an amazing match with Mysterio that's lauded one of the best of all times. And either one of those guys could have carried the cruiserweight division and helped raise the stock of those around them. Later on that next year, into 2003, it's one of these things of Owen goes on to defeat Eddie Guerrero, who was holding the U.S. Championship at that time. And in holding that title, Owen could either turn it into a Canadian championship, or he becomes the gatekeeper for wrestlers moving up the ladder to challenge for mid-card titles. Following this, he flips and becomes a heel, where it's time for a change. And in doing so, he's the wrestler that doesn't need a title to be over. He's the wrestler that you love to hate. A couple years later, by 2006, when ECW, the WWE version of ECW starts, they can make Owen their designated face instead of Kurt Angle. Now, Owen's the one who ends up beating RVD for the ECW title and becomes one of the best feuds with RVD throughout the year 2006. Now, Owen's time in ECW makes the ratings a little better, so they keep him in ECW through the next year, where he ends up feuding with CM Punk. And that takes us to WrestleMania 23, where he puts over Punk in ECW's crowning achievement at WrestleMania. And throughout the rest of the year of 2007, he feuds with Punk, only rising Punk's stock in ECW and later on in WWE. And by that time, still in his early 40s, Owen, who was a family man, he starts to back off from wrestling full-time. He could have either become a GM or maybe even a commentator through the rest of the late 2000s. By 2010, NXT comes into fruition. I could see him being a trainer, working with the youngsters until he decides to retire full-time. And in my eyes, that's what could have been if Owen Hart hadn't passed away at Over the Edge, 1999.
Terrible tragedy.
It was, yes.
You know, everything has been said about it a million times, and you know, and especially the talk about whether or not that show should have gone on. Everybody has their own opinion, and we all know what they're like. But I haven't seen you map somebody's potential career out like that kind of detail before. That was awesome. I agree with so many of those things. Stepping back when he's older, being a commentator or a trainer. Yeah, that would have been wonderful to see where he ended up. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it, man. That was fun. Before we call it a night, this is where I shit or get off the pot. Okay, let me put this down here. Let me take up the big part of the screen for a second. Okay, all right. Didn't quite get all this for those of you here right now. Book giveaway starting next week. I have books you guys have probably never even knew was ever even made for some of them. I don't have any WWE books, but I have a lot of books in my collection. I don't need it. I got to get rid of some of this stuff. And we're going to start giving it away through the mysterious Midnight Reader starting next week on this show. You got to be here to start to win. You got to love Greg Oliver. I got Greg Oliver books out the wazoo. Okay, Greg Oliver, one of the greatest writers in history. We got stuff here, just as an example here, that we're going to give away. This is Dory Funk Jr.'s autobiography, Last of a Great Dream. Good book, man. Good book. Do you know Scott Norton had an autobiography? Strong Style is a good book, man. It's just some quality stuff here. The Timeline of the Four Horsemen. I know you're out there right there, Sam Retro. I know you're gonna want this thing. This is Dick Bourne. And Dick Bourne wrote all of the stuff. I'm not giving these ones away, but all of the title books around, you know, the Canadian, the 10 pounds of gold, the Mid-Atlantic Championships. He's the guy. He's the reason we know what we do about so much stuff. I have books I'm sure you've never heard of about the Houston wrestling territory. If you're interested in something like that, when we give this stuff away, I have lessons from Rip Rogers from on pro wrestling from one of his students who wrote down everything basically he ever said. You ever been interested in the story of Gotch and Hackenschmidt? What actually happened and who tried to screw over who and what went down? Our friend Vinnie Berry, of course, so I have two of these, with WrestleVille and a lot of great stories in here as well. Vader's book, Chris Candido's book. You ever read about the grappler, Jody Hamilton? He had a book. This is one of my favorite ones in the whole collection. I can go through these things, but I'll stop here. Brian Solomon, Blood and Fire with the Sheik, though, and these are the two I'll probably, well, these are the three. I'm actually going to start with this on week one. Adventures in Larryland, Larry Zabisco. I love this book. I love this book. So I hope that you guys will all start to tune in. We'll start giving them away here. We've got some stuff that's very hard to find. Wrestlers are like seagulls, J.J. Dillon, and Ole Anderson's famous book, Inside Out, where Ole just kind of spat his hatred about Vince McMahon and the pro wrestling universe at the time. So I just wanted you, no books about Tyrus. I can get you one, Willie. I'll ship it right to your house, buddy. Yeah.
I wanted to say, too, I don't know if you two saw, Brian Solomon revealed the cover for his Gorilla Monsoon book.
Oh, yeah.
This past week.
Yeah, this is the last one he wrote, Blood and Fire, about the Sheik. But that is, I look forward to that one. I'm so far behind in reading, I won't even get to some of these. And I got the ones aside that I got to keep. It's time to clear some of this stuff out after all of these years. Yeah, man. So please tune in. We'll do some trivia or the Midnight Reader tells me he'll do some trivia. I don't know who Dusty Rhodes is. I don't think the Midnight Reader knows who Dusty Rhodes is either. But this famous shot right here of the Midnight Reader being told, you can't bring this book to ringside. I mean, or otherwise you'll be suspended. You got to unmask or give up the book. So we're giving up the books rather than unmasking. Anyways, it'll be fun. We'll be doing a book a week as we go through here. And there you go. That's it. That's all. Where can they find you guys on the social medias, Dave?
You can find me at Dave Scooby on Instagram, X, and every once in a while I'm over on Blue Sky. And if you have any suggestions for some fantasy booking, hit me up there. And let me know what you want to see or hear about.
Excellent. How about you, Jeremy?
You can find me over on Facebook at Jeremy Miller, and once in a blue moon, I pop up in a Blue Sky at Alliance Jeremy.
I meant to do this one. At Alliance Jeremy, yes. You will find Rolando Friedman in a daycare center. You would find me at pornhub.com/the Alliance blog and alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news. I know it's Rolando Freeman. It's pretty funny. It's a pretty funny bit. You guys
Jesus fucking Christ, that's fucking brutal, Willie.
Wow.
Alliance-wrestling.com is your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance. Please go there. That's the website. At the Alliance blog on all the social medias. That is legit funny. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for the Alliance Guys podcast. The original guy. That's Jake It's DCam. That's Jaden. And every Tuesday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific for the pre-party. That's the before power, the hour before power with Jake himself. Thanks all of you guys for being here. That is that's the funniest line for comedic wrestlers. That's great. You should have been on the Mount Rushmore. Oh man. So until next time, guys, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.